Pronto? Pronto?
Grazie. Good morning. We begin this 3-day conference on Synodal and Salesian Facilitation, the Salesian participation at the Education Week here in Rome. We were there with the Holy Father, most of us, at the inaugural Mass of the Pontifical Universities, having their academic year inaugurated in the evening at the beautiful Eucharistic celebration. And here we are this morning with our Rector Major, Don Fabio Attard, and the Rector of the University, Don Andrea Bozzolo, to enter into our conference the theme of Salesianity, higher education, synodality, and facilitation. May I invite all of us to spend a moment of silence as our note of prayer for all that the world needs this morning, and especially for our own youth members who looked eagerly towards this moment of being with us from Sri Lanka, from Congo, and from Bolivia, but have not been able to come for logistical governmental reasons. May I invite you for a moment of silence? Thank you. Let's conclude this prayer with a Hail Mary. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the womb of Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Thank you. May I invite Don Fabio Attard, Rector Major, Salesians of Don Bosco, to address his inaugural presentation.
Good morning, my dear friends, sisters, and brothers. I am so happy to be able to participate in the beginning of this conference. Unfortunately, due to commitments, some of them were given lately due to what is going on this week about the Jubilee of Education and other things. I am not able to be all the time with you. But I can assure you that I am constantly in contact with Father George about what is going on in the area of youth, being privileged enough to have accompanied the youth institutions for 12 years as youth ministry counselor on a world level. The title I would like to comment this morning by way of introduction is Synodality in Salesian institutions of higher education. This reflection, I would like to share it by way of looking at two realities which are convergent. The journey of the church, the journey of the congregation, how they are intermingled together, and how are we challenged through this journey in our own presences, in our own journeys. The current context of the church. First and foremost, it is marked by the call to synodality. The church today, finding itself at a threshold of transformation, is responding to Pope Francis' profound call to embrace synodality as a fundamental way of being. This is not merely a temporary pastoral strategy responding to a problem or to an emergency. It is rather a rediscovery of the essential nature of the Church, walking together as a community, attentive to what the Holy Spirit communicates to us, and open to listening to one another. In our time, in our culture, marked by polarization, individualism, and fragmentation, the synodal call represents a countercultural witness that truth does not emerge from isolated reality, isolated authority, or individual conviction alone, but from community discernment, rooted in listening and shared prayer. For Salesian Higher Education, this call resonates deeply with the spirit of our father and teacher, Don Bosco. Above all, it is urgent never to lose the memory that Don Bosco never worked alone. From the beginning, he sought collaborators, gave space to young people, creating and promoting a community that assumes a shared mission. The Church, called to live the synodal journey, is for us an invitation to rediscover the essentially ecclesial and charismatic trait. It belongs to us as Salesians to overcome hierarchical models of educational governance in favor of more participatory structures in which students, faculty, staff, and the broader community truly shape institutional life. Pope Francis, during this journey on synodality, has indicated three key words to the Church, which I would like briefly to comment: communion, participation, and mission. Communion challenges us to go beyond simple coexistence towards authentic, spiritual, and human, charismatic, and professional connection. In our universities and higher institutions, this means promoting spaces where diverse voices, different disciplines, cultures, faiths, and perspectives meet not as competitors, but as pilgrimage companions. This requires breaking down the silos that often separate academic departments, administrative units, and the various protagonists of each campus. It is a call to recognize that our institutional wholeness reflects that ecclesial community we are called to incarnate. More pertinently, this commitment moves towards making visible and credible that family spirit that characterizes us as Salesians. The second word is participation. This requires more than symbolic consultation. It requires creating authentic mechanisms in which all members of our educational pastoral communities can contribute to decision-making processes that affect them. This step is particularly challenging, not only in academic context with established hierarchies, but proves to be so in every institution. And it is precisely in the challenge of setting this style in motion, that the value of participation itself lies. The synodal path asks us, how can we be promoters of truly listening to students as protagonists of the processes proposed to them and shared with them? How do we honor the wisdom of academic staff whose daily work and institutional belonging sustain our mission? How do we involve alumni, families, local communities, various stakeholders in the territory as partners who feel that our mission is part of their lives? The third word is mission. Mission provides the purpose that prevents communion and participation from becoming ends in themselves. Our Salesian mission, educating young people, especially the poor and the marginalized, must serve as a guide and light that focuses our efforts, that creates that sense of walking together, syn odos. Every listening session, every participatory structure, every communion building initiative should ultimately ask, does it help us better serve young people? Does it make us more effective instruments of God's love for those most in need? In this first part, my dear sisters, my dear brothers, I just wanted to recall the context, the general context. What is the dynamic that at the moment is animating the church worldwide? Pope Leo, this last weekend, met synodal groups from all over the world. And again, the synod does not have an aim to be achieved, an objective. It has a vision to be incarnated, assumed, and witnessed. So the process is the result. And we know fully well what that means. Now, I would like, as a second point, to comment what are the 4 guidelines that as a congregation we have given ourselves for the next 6 years, 25, 31. I am not only sharing them by way of information, but rather I am sharing them by way of enhancing our vision, by way of sustaining our own experiences in this Salesian higher education. The first call, which is a result of the general chapter, as you well know, around 230 people from all over the world gathered for 2 months in Turin between February and April. The first one is a call to identity. Very interesting, isn't it? The first challenge is not what we need to do, but whom we need to be. General Chapter 29, emphasis on identity, comes at a crucial moment that challenges us all to confront the risk of moving forward in the mission without that necessary and indispensable awareness of our own identity. While our universities and higher institutions grow in academic prestige, expand their programs, and compete in educational markets in an increasingly globalized context, dominated by a liberal economic model that dictates its own logic, it is our duty, my friends, to pose the fundamental question. What makes us distinctively Salesian? How does this identify its citizenship in such a challenging context? This call to identity is not a nostalgic preservation, but dynamic fidelity. It requires articulating with contemporary language and practice what it means to educate with Don Bosco's heart in the 21st century. In higher education particularly, this implies maintaining the centrality of the preventive system, reason, search for meaning, spirituality, loving kindness, ensuring our preferential option for young people from disadvantaged backgrounds, despite pressures to pursue prestige that does not sufficiently account for the ultimate goal of mission in favor of poor youth, and preserving a pedagogy of accompaniment in an era of mass education and commodification of knowledge. I would like, my dear brothers, my dear sisters, to invite you to reflect on this. My experience, 12 years visiting our provinces the world over, and lately doing canonical visitations in some provinces, we are doing well. Do we have areas where we need to improve? Definitely. But in general, the movement is towards a better direction. I always say to our Salesian institution, be careful what in English we call becoming victims of our success. Becoming victims of our success. That while processes are growing and we are doing well, we might move on closing our vision. While we need to be very careful of leaving it as broad as possible and as focused as possible on our identity. The second call for the congregation to be charismatically and prophetically present. Prophetic presence in higher education means courageously addressing the critical challenges of our time. Ecological crisis, growing inequality, political polarization, mental health epidemics among young people, erosion of truth in public discourse. Our universities and higher institutions cannot be ivory towers disconnected from the Christ of the earth and the poor. Being charismatically present means doing so in a distinctively Salesian way. It asks that our research and teaching address real problems affecting real communities. That our pedagogy forms students as agents of change, and that our institutional practices model a just, sustainable, and compassionate style. The synodal path does nothing but strengthen this prophetic witness. That's why I'm saying there is a convergence between the synodal journey and the vision for the next 6 years. When the entire educational community discusses together what issues require our attention and how to respond, our witness together has greater authenticity and power compared to official pronouncements from leadership alone. The third challenge of the congregation, artificial intelligence. It was mentioned during the chapter, and we are putting it as the third challenge. Pope Leo, exactly 2 days after his election, in his discourse, speech to the cardinals, he pointed artificial intelligence as a huge challenge for the Church. We need to be aware, not simply to take it as a challenge to be treated with, but as a challenge that needs to challenge our own understanding of education. Without entering into detailed discussion, I want to mention here the challenge of artificial intelligence. We believe it represents perhaps the most significant technological disruption to education since the printing press. For Salesian Higher Education, it presents both profound challenges and notable opportunities. The challenges are clear. AI threatens to commodify learning, reduce education to information transfer, replace human relationships with algorithmic interactions, and exacerbate inequalities between those with access to cutting-edge technologies and those without. These dangers directly contradict fundamental Salesian values, such as personal accompaniment, education as relationship, and most crucially, the preferential option for the disadvantaged. However, the opportunities merit serious discernment. AI could personalize learning in a way that honor individual differences, free educators from repetitive tasks to focus on guidance and formation, provide access to education for undeserved populations, and enhance research capabilities to address the most urgent global challenges. The question is not whether to engage with AI, but how to do so in ways that serve our mission rather than subvert it. The AI issue challenges us seriously and profoundly because this discernment must be done and lived in a synodal way. We need philosophers and ethicists dialoguing with computer scientists, students sharing their experiences with faculty planning curricula, and practitioners from developing contexts speaking with administrators from resource-rich institutions. Only through such broad participation can we wisely navigate AI's complexities. Moreover, AI should be a tool to improve synodal processes, not replace them. Could AI help us better analyze consultation results, identify emerging themes across diverse communities, or facilitate more inclusive participation from geographically dispersed members? Such applications would put technology at the service of communion, rather than allowing it to fragment our human connection. The fourth point is, I would call it a direct, clear indication. The UPS, the Salesian Pontifical University, our university. Allow me to comment on the fourth line of the congregation's governance that addresses the Salesian Pontifical University, UPS. UPS occupies a unique position in our congregation's educational mission. As the intellectual heart of Salesian formation and research, UPS has particular responsibilities in this synodal moment. I call it, my friends, a unique position, not a privileged position. It's the call that our university has. I would like to comment on the fact that this call wants to highlight the need to strengthen those choices that enhance and privilege ever greater knowledge of Salesian identity through moments of study reflection, and research. For this reason, the congregation feels the need to follow more closely the efforts that in recent years the same congregation has been making in enhancing Salesian places. As I've mentioned in other occasions, these places are not just physical ones, but places where the encounter with the charism by many groups of collaborators is bearing positive fruit. For this reason, I would like to share with you the commitment that as the General Council, we are engaged in programmatically favoring the synergy of study and formation proposals and presence between the UPS and Salesian places, strengthened in a programmed way to enhance existing positive experience of ongoing formation and also to respond to other opportunities that may emerge. In the coming months, we are working on the possibility of an institute that will coordinate formation experiences that are taking already place in a way that it could promote more opportunities that will have to emerge from the roots. Not somebody deciding what needs to be done, but responding to the needs that are coming up. It is appropriate that here, in this setting, I share with you that the heart of this journey is to move from imagining Salesian places as places to visit to a vision that gives priority to in-depth study of Salesianity, that is moving from mere information to formation. This process, of course, will be communicated and discussed to the whole congregation in its own time. Conclusion. The convergence, as you can see, of the Church's synodal path and the congregation's priorities for 25-31 creates this convergence a kairos moment for Salesian higher institutions. We are called to nothing less than reimagining our universities as communities of communion, participation, and mission. Institutions that form young people not only academically, but integrally in a holistic way, preparing them to be both professionally competent and humanly wise, technically skilled and ethically grounded. This requires courage. Courage to listen and share, to promote collaborative practices, to offer paths that do not succumb to market pressures that contradict our mission. It also requires hope, trust in the Holy Spirit, that He speaks through our communities when we create authentic space for listening. Confidence that Don Bosco's charism remains vital and relevant. Trust that our young people, with all their questions and creativity, bring with them the significant questions that invite us to relational authenticity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Don Fabio, for those beautiful contextual words. Thank you, Don Fabio, for those beautiful words. You have been listened to not only by these 40 persons present here, but from all over the world. Thanks to Don Yarek and our Ecuador Youth website maintenance team. This event is being streamed. To all my friends, we thank for this beautiful intervention at the beginning of our youth conference as part of the Jubilee of Education that the Dicastery of Vatican has organized. And here we are in the Salesian University, the heart of intellectual formation and Salesian identity, with the rector of the university itself, taking forward the reflections that Don Fabio made, beginning from Don Bosco, who himself was a collaborator, and the synodality inviting us to participatory kind of mission in a collaborative mode, and presenting us with what the chapter members thought through and the challenges that the General Council would like to present before all sectors and all presences across the Salesian world, and bringing us to this moment of our own task of integrating synodality, Salesianity, and something new that's there in the world, especially in the field of management, for us who are managers or Salesian administrators or Salesian formators in our educational settings. Over to Don Andrea Bozzolo, the rector of the Salesian University, for his address.
Thank you, George. Thank you. Thank you. I'm very happy to welcome you in this university, in the Salesian Pontifical University. Thank you. We are very open to collaborate with the youth institutions. It's an honor to have you in this place, in this moment, with the rector. Thank you. So I was invited to offer you some content, some reflections about the link between synodality and our higher education. I had the grace of taking part in the synodal process and even in the synodal assemblies. Invited as an expert, and I was in the group of the writers of the final document of the synod. So I had really an interesting and inspiring experience. And I feel that in the world, the synodality is spreading. But it's important to understand really what synodality is and not immediately go to practice and application. So I try to offer a simple presentation. The first part about meaning and dimension of synodality. Only some inputs rather quickly. And then the second part, the relevance of synodality for education. So let's go to the first part, meaning and dimensions of synodality. Next, please go on. Okay, I quote a number for the final document, number 28. And you see the title. The synodality is a way of reforming, really, the church, the style of the life of the church, but a reform through conversion. So the final document says, number 28, in simple and concise terms, synodality is a path, then I will comment this word, a path of spiritual renewal and structural reform. They go together. It enables the church to be more participatory and missional. And here again together, mission and participation, so that it can walk with every man and woman radiating the light of Christ. So let us comment this idea of synodality as a path. That means that synodality is not only also, but not only a theory, an ecclesiological theory about the nature of the church. And not only a method, a technical method of working in a group, but is a spiritual style of action. That's very important, even for education. Because in education, we need a spiritual energy. All them, and without this spiritual energy, we reduce it to technical, to abilities, to capacities, to something to learn, to contents. But education is a spiritual relationship. So synodality is not only a theory or a method, but a spiritual style of action in the church for the world. And this spiritual energy comes from the Second Vatican Council. The Synod draws upon the energy of the Second Vatican Council seed and develops its potential. That teaching of the Vatican about being a people becomes practice and experience. See the two photos. On the left, you have the Vatican, Second Vatican Council. Only the bishops see the disposition of the assembly. And now, in the synod, synodal tables where a cardinal speaks with a mother of family, with a catechist, with a diacon, with another bishops, together, searching the will of God for our world, for our time. So you see that the process of Vaticans, the ecclesiology of the Second Vatican Council becomes a style, a practice. And this spiritual renewal, as we can see, creates structural reform. But the first point is this spiritual taste. I'm quoting Pope Francis, if you know this famous quotation. Spiritual taste of walking and working together. So we all work in universities, in institutions. Not always our meeting are a spiritual. Sometimes they are difficult. They are only technical. And many people try not to take part because they have their own priorities. How can we create this spiritual taste of walking and working together? Because this is really the challenge of creating a new way for education. And audacious renewal of structures in order to the mission. So when we speak, pay attention, of participatory and mission church. What is participation? That's really an important question. We participate in what? In different levels. So that's really the fundament of each synodal vision. The baptism, every baptized participate into the life of God. So God is in me, in you, is among us. What does it mean for our work? What does it mean for our mission? That we share the participation in God's life. Then we participate in the church. And we can say in the congregation, in the work of the congregation. But we participate also in the world with our own culture, with the challenges of our country. So every baptized is part of these three elements that can enlighten, can illuminate the work is called to. And so if we take seriously these elements of our faith, of our mission, we understand how we can work with every man and woman radiating in my context, in my country, in my culture, the light of Christ that is in me and in my brothers and sisters in the church. So we have here the ecumenical, interreligious, and social dimension of synodality. That is not for a church in itself, is through the church for the world. Let's go on. So here I put some slide that we will go through very quickly, only to give you the idea of the final document about synodality. I think that you had the possibility, the opportunity to read this document. But it's important, if you didn't yet, it's deeper into it. The logic of the final document. There are theological foundations in the mystery of God, in Christ, in the Spirit coming to share his life with us. Then there is this link between the conversion of relationships to take seriously the quality of our relationships, because we all participate in the life of God. So there is the conversion of processes when in an institution the relationships are good, are Christian, are human relationships, you can begin processes of discernment, processes real of a common debate about the good to do, and so the conversion of structures. Let's go quickly. Here is the point, baptism and sensus fidei as an instinct that the Holy Spirit put in us to be sensitive to the life of God. And then the renewed relationships, renewed processes for decision making. Next slide. Place and interculturality. These are all part of the final document. We have not the time here to take each point and to debate about it. But these are really the fundamentals for a synodal education. And let's go to the second part of my simple contributions. Which is the relevance of this synodality of the Church for the world for our Salesian higher education. I have put here 4 elements where I see a more relevant input from synodality. The first one is synodality and education. Firstly, it must be strongly emphasized that students in our institutions are not users to whom we offer a service. This is really a change of mentality, as a common trend would lead us to believe. And this is really a risk, a danger for our institution. If the students are user, we are no more in a Salesian context, right? Reformation, yes. Yes. But it's a temptation to consider on the number of students, the services we offer, but which kind of relationships with them. So, students in our institutions are not users to whom we offer a service, as a common trend would lead us to believe, but rather people driven by the hope of gaining an educational experience. Sometimes it is implicit, sometimes it's explicit, but they have the hope of building meaningful relationships. Academic institution, there is sometimes a risk to offer good services but sufficient personal accompaniment, personal support. Education, especially Salesian education, requires the possibility of relationships in which personal issues can be addressed and accompanied. The quantity of services cannot replace the quality of relationships. When I meet the new students who come each year in the OOPS, I say always, we try to have upon you the glance of Don Bosco, the eyes of Don Bosco. I don't see in you only the student. I see in you the young, who is in a decisive period of his life, who requires to be accompanied in a strategic moment of his life. I think that's really important. It's really a Salesian approach to higher institutions. During the synod dedicated to the young, many of them complained about the lack of listening in the church, in the education system, and in society. They told us in the synod dedicated to the young, please, activities, have a new style. Stay among us, listen to us, involve us. That is what we need for our educative listening. And listening requires time and person devoted to this. Otherwise, they risk not being participatory. I share with you a recent episode that I had last week. The vicar of the Pope for the city of Rome collected all the rectors of the Pontifical University and the rectors of the Italian University of Rome. We met together, we spoke about young people. The decision of the meeting was, okay, we write a book. We write a book about hope, about the sense of the life. I waited my turn, and then I said, please, dear colleagues, do you think that writing a book and organizing the presentation of the books in our university will solve this problem? So we have to involve some students of our universities with us rectors to speak together and to find with them, and not only for them, a way to do something. So this is the mentality that we need to improve in our institutions. So how can we ensure and implement participatory processes in the academic community so that we can truly work together? And so you see two images, two different styles of leadership in a university. We are the staff, and we try to do it together, to listen to you, and to start from your needs. Second is synodality and social politic prophecy. University must prepare tomorrow's leaders and generations with the awareness that professionalization is not in itself sufficient and is not the only goal to be set as the horizon of a university career. You can read by yourself the quotation of number 47 in this page. But our goal is not only professionalization. Yes, of course, it is. But is to guide the person to take their work as a mission. You remember the famous words of Pope Francis when he spoke to the young and he told them, you spend a lot of time asking, who am I? Who am I? And you can spend all your life with this question. But if you want to find the answer, you have to change the question. Not who am I, but for whom am I? Because everyone is a mission. A young is a mission opening to the future. And if you take your work only as an heavy job you have to do all your life, will never be satisfied. But if you understand that to take care of others in whatever kind of job you will have is a mission. So again, our Salesian vision of higher education is to help young people not only to have a job, but to understand that through their job they have a mission. So that's the slide. We can see two different ways of preparing the leaders of tomorrow. Yes. Third point, synodality and culture. With reference to our cultural proposal, I see two major challenges that our institutions must face, and to which synodality can make a significant contribution. The first one is the synthesis or the unity of knowledge. And the second is the continuous scientific dialogue between faith and reason. So in our time, in our world, we are really challenged by the fragmented and often disintegrated panorama of contemporary university studies that are very specific in its own field, but dramatically separated and fragmented in the global vision of our humanity. The pluralism, uncertain, conflicting, and relativistic of current beliefs and cultural options. That's really a challenge. The name university comes from universal, that is harmonic, complete vision of life and humanity. The university was born in Middle Age with this perspective. Each discipline, each matter can and should contribute to a universal vision. But we know today universities are each department, each faculty for itself. And our young people are not sufficiently helped to achieve a global vision of life, a global vision of humanity. Christian culture, however, is guided by the vital intellectual principle of the unity in difference of knowledge, and by respect for its multiple correlated and convergent expressions. And here is multinality. How are we promoving a cross-disciplinary approach in our higher education that allows faith and reason to work together? Otherwise, the religious dimension of life, even in our university, risks to be somehow marginal. If it is not integrated in the global vision, remains marginal. Faith and reason, faith and culture, universal vision of the sense of life. So two images, once again. So we see religions and science as different worlds, or Galileo's speaking with the friar and trying together to understand the word, the life. And I finish with the last input, the simple synodality and university pastoral care. Finally, in a Christian and Salesian university, the source and goal of every activity can be none other than the witness of the risen Lord, who is the way, the truth, and the life. The synodal approach of pastoral care is very close to our spirit, to meet young people where they are in their freedom and work with them with a clear and respectful proposal. Obviously, a Catholic university is not a parish or a devotional group. No. It is a mere anonymous cultural center. Depending on the context, it could be Christian, secularized, multi-religious. Salesian pastoral animation can take different forms, but it should be there. But in no case can the spiritual proposal be considered marginal or involve only one or two people in charge without involving the university as a whole. And here is the question: how can we implement a pastoral approach that, while paying attention to differences in roles and personal beliefs, involves all members of the academic community so that we can truly work together in the spirit of Don Bosco? So I think that synodality can give some contributions, some light to face these four challenges that we have in our higher education institution: synodality and education, synodality and social politic prophecy of a style of mission in the job, synodality and culture, avoiding this disintegration of specialization, and synodality and university pastoral care. Thank you very much for your listening.
Thank you, Don Bosco, for taking forward today's discussion on this topic, on which some of us who have been preparing for this event, meaning participation in the Jubilee Week as Salesians from higher education, have been thinking about for quite some time. And both of you have taken forward that concern of all of us, the concern of our own institutions, where it is and where it could be. And each of us know that very well. We know we want to preserve the Salesian identity. There's no contestation on that. We are all in it with both Rector Major and with you as Rector of the Salesian University. And we also, like you mentioned, are looking for ways, as you told your colleagues the other day in Rome. And each of us are asking ourselves, but how do we convert, transition this clear understanding that we have, that we want to be synodal, we want to be participative, we want to be Salesian, we want to be collaborative. And we have been looking. I, for one, definitely in my 23 years. And that's when, can we really do it in the Salesian way, even in a Salesian university with 16,000 or 47,000 students? And I came up one day saying, yes, it is possible. And that day was like a lightning striking me. Because we think in our Salesian terminology, to be personal, to be accompanying, to be, to create that rapport, can we do that with so many students? And if at all, how? And landing on that methodology is what brought me to facilitation. So there is a way of doing the Salesian work in our managerial context in order to reach out to n number of students to make them feel that they are also part of the story of our institution. Let us go to facilitation. And that's why we have invited you to this conference of 3 days. Conference, communication, collaboration. This is the model in which we have designed it. So first day we have 3 talks, second day 2 talks, third day only 1 talk in this hall, all streamlined, live streamed. Rest of the day, we are going to do this brainstorming, this thinking, and how exactly to do it. That's why we have the experts here with us, and I would like to say a word about each of them. Mark Pixley out there has 25 plus years of leadership, management, and organizational change in big companies in China and in other parts of the world. And for the last 10 years, also with us in education, and is a recipient of an award from the International Association of Facilitators. Give him a hand. I came to know Mark 15 years ago through Dr. Glenn Shive, who was then the Fulbright Scholar and the American Center host in Hong Kong, and also in charge of the United Boards Program Coordination. And Glenn introduced me to Mark, and Glenn is with us, Glenn Shive. Both of them are US citizens, but Glenn lives now post-retirement in Scotland, and Mark is right now with his mother taking care of her in France. But he lives in China. I have 2 other friends of mine, one a Salesian with me in Salesian school. So we have in our facilitation team, besides technical expertise, also some persons who know what does it mean to be in a Salesian school, and to walk into an educational institution and say, are the Salesians literally being Salesian? That's Dr. Tommy Calorical here, and he has also been, and he is presently too, the Dean of Christ University, one of those Catholic universities in India, which both of us have seen from being just a small college with 500 or 1,000 students to now 70,000 students with 5 campuses in different parts of India. And he has been the part of that story of that institution developing. So we have an organizational Catholic university person with us. And we have Mr. Shirish Sebastian here on my left. He is addressing to us and representing our youth, our students. He has probably 2 lakhs plus students with whom he is an influencer, and he's in communication in social media. and he's a public communicator and instructional trainer in terms of communication. How do we communicate our good ideas? So welcome to all of you, to this, all of you to join this sitting. My dear friends, we are at 10:15. We have a photo opportunity at this moment. We have the Father has been extremely kind to give us this time, and he will be with us till 12. But he will also like to see and join us in our first session, which will begin at 10:30 in Zati Hall. So from now to 10:15, 10:30, we go down, and at the best spot for a group photo that Don Bozzolo will guide us, we will take a group photo. Then you have time for a little individual time with Father Fabio, and then we proceed to the hall. Thank you. We don't come back here. Please take all your things. We come back here only tomorrow morning at 9. At 9, now all of you know where to be at 9 tomorrow morning. Thank you. And Zati Hall is in the opposite direction as you all go out.
Soundcheck. Paging announcement for Thomas Aquinas and Capolo, your batch.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.